Yes, my name is Award Dorothy Otieno. I work for Nyalore Impact, a social enterprise based in Homa Bay. We do biomass cookstoves, we produce and we also distribute. So to date, Nyalore Impact has involved women and youth in their production trainings, and we also distribute our products through trained last mile distributors, both women and youth. What we have seen, the advantages of doing this is the synergy of the youths and the women in educating, providing after-sales services to the customers has really been grateful to achieve this through the synergy between the youth and the women. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy. Daktari?
Thank you very much. My name is Tulu Bukhari. I work in ISIPE. I'm a medical entomologist by profession. So I kind of just stepped into the clean cooking arena 2 years ago by choice, by motivation actually. So I work in ISIPE. In ISIPE, we work with what we call the 4 health approach. So we have human health, plant health, environment health, animal health all together. So we don't look at just human health, but we kind of consider all the things together. So it's like a one health approach, and that's kind of like the background I'm coming from. So to answer the question mainly that what do we do in our organization for gender mainstreaming? So mainly the thing is that I just think what we mainly do is we are just always mindful of it. So for example, we do a lot of community work. When we do that community work, we always kind of consider in our how do you say training material, in our participations, they are always tailor-made for women and for men. And to be able to do that, what we do is we always have some kind of formative work before. We do that, we pick out all these different gender roles, different, how do you say, approaches, different views, and then when we go back, we sit down and we design our material according to that. So that would be the first thing I think we do it mindfully. And then our second thing would be whenever we look at data, we look at gender disaggregated data. And that we don't just look at it, but we also kind of learn from it. So, and just to expand a bit on it, that's why I'm in the clean cooking work now, because we were actually looking at the different factors in the household that affect your ability, that affect your risk to get malaria. And in that, we were looking at sleeping arrangements in the house, and we realized that when boys are adolescent, they always get a special structure in the house called a Simba or something where they sleep. But on the other hand, adolescent girls were actually sleeping in the kitchen where there is no bed net, so there's high chance of malaria. Plus, that's when we realized that, okay, there is a lot of smoke there. There is a lot of, because of the cooking that they do, they are exposed to a lot of these smoke and stuff, and that causes a lot of acute and chronic respiratory diseases in females. So that's kind of the way we look at it, and then we kind of consider the roles of the gender in different perspectives. Thank you.
Thank you, Daktari. And also welcome to the clean cooking sector. We welcome stakeholders in this very good course, and we look forward to working together. So I'll go to Prudence.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah.
My name is Prudence. I'm the founder for Youth for Sustainable Energy, and also a representative of young people under the UNMGCY, where we started a group of young people just to help us be able to bring out the voice of young people in the energy sector, because as young people, they have been left out in terms of decisions, and also just being able to bring them on board to help us increase access to energy. So looking at those gaps, we felt that there is need for us to have an umbrella body whereby we can be able to learn from each other and just be able to know of what is happening in the sector and what our role is going to be. And we're looking at in terms of how you're going to influence the policies, and from the knowledge that we have, to give back to the community, help them to increase access to sustainable energy. And at the same time, we are looking at how to bring the people who are living with disabilities on board, because it has been a segment that has really been left behind, despite the fact we are talking about leaving no one behind. So we are exploring ways and ensuring that they are a part of the process as we talk about sustainable energy access.
Thank you, Prudence. Evelyn from GIZ.
Thank you very much. My name is Evelyn Makori from GIZ Kenya. I'm really going to talk about what GIZ is doing in line to gender mainstreaming. GIZ is so deliberate in ensuring that women, youth, and the able differently are not left out. And the intention is so deliberate in that we have funding that is geared towards this. We also do deliberate awareness creation. We've developed strategies that address gender issues. We have the GIZ Gender Strategy of 2019 that seeks to identify and address negative impacts of early stage injustices that might be experienced in projects. It doesn't stop at that. We also have the BMZ Gender Action Plan of 2016 to 2022 that sets out priorities and concrete measures through gender mainstreaming, empowerment, and policy dialogue. Recently, we developed the Gender Feminist Plan that seeks to identify the gender issues that surround various project activities, to ensure that there is equal participation and remove obstacles responsible for discrepancies. I happen to work in the GCF project, and the GCF project is so clear on gender policy. It advocates for a gender-sensitive approach. It doesn't just stop at implementation, but it also addresses the need for staff to be gender aware, because they are the people who really take up the matters to do with gender mainstreaming. We also don't just stop at that. We're also looking at how to bring youth on board. And as GIZ, we are working with vocational training institutions to ensure that we train the youth on clean cooking issues, and bringing to their awareness that this can also be an income generating activity, because for so long you realize that youth basically shied away from this. It didn't look so lucrative. And then when we come to the staff front as GIZ, we're also taking care of our staff, considering that we work with both genders. So in most of our offices, we've set out lactating rooms. We now have a 6-month maternity leave, so that the female gender doesn't feel like they're disadvantaged in the course of implementing their activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. That is quite a handful. So many documents and activities being done. What I know about GIZ, mostly on capacity building. They are so good in this. Just to say that CCAK, sorry, did I introduce myself? No. Sorry. Okay, so my name is Philomena Mitalo. I am from the Clean Cooking Association of Kenya. So like I was saying, we are, I think, the traditional beneficiaries of GIZ. And I just want to say that when it comes to the issue of capacity building, like Evelyn has indicated, like it is done at different capacities. For example, maybe for the secretariat, or just for all the projects that we have done for them, I think we've been able to be taken through some certain trainings, including the recent one on gender. So I'll pop the same question to Emily from Africa Center for Technological Studies.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, sorry. My name is Emily Bolo, the MEX Project Officer Kenya, working with both African Center for Technology Studies and the African Research and Impact Network. Also, on our part, we do this from the evidence perspective. We are more of an evidence creating organization that want to translate evidence into impact. So on our part, we are mostly promoting the use of electric cooking as a form of clean cooking technology. So with the data that we have, it's easier to prove to the population that cooking with electricity is cheaper and safer compared to other alternative methods of clean cooking. The initiatives we have done particularly focus on rural areas, considering that they are the bulk consumers of biomass when compared to urban areas. So for a start, earlier this year, we launched e-cooking hubs in different counties, 4 region counties of Kenya for a start. The first one was set up in Nakuru. We partnered with SCOD. So in SCOD and in Karaitas in Kikuyu, in Kitui, we have partnered with the local women from the region. We call them champions, whom we trained on how to use the various energy efficient cooking appliances such as EPCs and induction cooker, for them to own the idea and the technology, and for it to be easier for them to champion the same. So at the moment, we are working with champions from Kitui and Nakuru on that space, and they are doing a very good work of promoting the same to their local members. We have one in particular in Kitui. She is called Betty. She is a teacher. She normally carries with her EPC to school. So during lunch hours, she demonstrates to the teachers and other students how to use the EPC and the fact that it's indeed cheap. And from that, many of our teachers have acquired the EPC. From Kitui and Nakuru, we mostly target women, but in Kisumu and Makueni, we launched the hubs in technical institutions that targeted the population from the food and nutrition department. So like we have the educators and their students championing the same. In Makueni, to be specifically, they've incorporated the e-cooking into their curriculum. So they, like in Makueni, they totally phased out the use of charcoal in their learning processes and incorporated EPC. To them, they said it was a big game changer in the clean cooking space. Apart from that, we are also supporting KPLC at the Pick and Power demonstration program. They have a weekly demonstration program every Tuesday and Thursday that is meant to create awareness on the benefits of using e-cooking technologies. That apart from the price aspect, there are other aspects like health and climate action that work towards promoting it as an affordable, cost-effective, and one that can address a myriad of problems associated with health. Thank you.
Millie, so in short, your work is focused on electric cooking for now in the clean cooking sector. Okay. Just to pose a question for Dorothy. So we already have several women-led organizations in the clean cooking sector. So what do you think we can do to get more of them in this clean cooking space?
Thank you, Philomena. I think it is very, very important to understand the power dynamics in the households. Because if you don't do this, it will then be very difficult for the households to acquire these products in the houses, because we know there are houses where the woman cannot bring in anything, and there are households where the woman is free to bring in an item. So it is very, very important that first of all, as we go out, we have to understand the power dynamics in the households, and then go out and package your marketing strategy in a way that if you are selling to men, you would attract the man to be interested in the cooking solutions that you are trying to market. Because for men, I have seen that they are more interested in the economic benefits of an item. So when you touch that, you will interest them because it is them that buy the food or leave the money behind for whatever is to be cooked in the house. So it is important that you package your message for selling an item either to the man or to the woman. Know how to package your proposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy. So you think, so if I am to come to a household, I should come with a message that is fit for both. Let's say I'm coming to sell an EPC. You think I should come with a message that the man would see the value for money for whatever it is that I want him to invest in?
I think you have to be very keen to understand, and before you even start selling, you need to get into the house and take your time to just beat about the bush before you come to what you really wanted to do, so that you're able to understand how this household operates. Because you can come in with a very good product, but because you started with a woman, it will not be taken. But if you are able to understand how to approach this house, because I work in the rural, and many times women, even if you're in a merry-go-round and you have the money, you don't have the freedom to buy whatever you have or you want. You have to consult. So it is always very, very important for us to go outside there and understand the women and maybe their households, and then from there we know, we can determine whom to approach, whether to approach the man. And when we are approaching the man, then we have to know that the man is interested in savings because it is his pocket, and two, tell the man that the EPC is an asset. He will be very, very pleased with it. So you have to be very tactical.
Thank you, Dorothy, for the clarification. So I'll pose a question for Dr. Tulu. So women are the primary users of, at household level, for whichever household clean cooking products that are there. So how are we ensuring that they are well represented at the table where discussions and decisions about clean cooking are being made?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. You see that the thing is simple. Why are we all here? We're all here because we've kind of, again, mindfully looked at clean cooking. We've kind of come up with the right ways of communicating and being involved, networking. And so let me give an example. I go back to my entomology, actually. When we're designing experiments, I work with mosquitoes, so we're like, think like a mosquito now. So here, it's important for us to think like a woman who is going to be the one that, who is cooking, actually. This is a woman who is in a rural area. She probably did not get education or was moderately educated. She had children. There are financial constraints on this woman. How can we now encourage a woman like that to come to platforms like this and many others and talk about it? Yeah. So I think the best thing we can do is we can really kind of, train and work together with these women in the community. Let them be able to, collect data from their environment, be mindful about it. This is how much fuel I've used in this stove, and this is how much fuel I'm using in this stove, and this is how much money is being paid. And as they organize these thoughts in their brain, they will be able to kind of communicate them also better. And the better they communicate, the more they will have opportunities to be in these platforms, actually. So that would be my answer to that question.
Yes, Dr. Thank you. So maybe I could say that we should let them be locally led, just starting from the grassroots. we let them, not us introducing whatever it is that, but them telling us what they would like to be done in their community, right?
Listening to them, I think is the first most important step that we can
Okay.
do.
Thank you, Dr. Ray. I would pose the same question to Evelyn from GIZ. Women are the primary users, okay? So from your point of view, how would you ensure that they are well represented, where these discussions are taking place and discussions about clean cooking are being done, because at the end of it all, it's about them.
Thank you very much, Philomena, for that. Appreciating the fact that women are the primary users of these clean cooking solutions is the first step towards ensuring that they are well represented. Just thinking, maybe we really appreciated this fact for so long until maybe we might be thinking that it is their role to continue being where they are as primary users. It's time that we move these women now from being the primary users of these solutions to being at the forefront of really making decisions when it comes to clean cooking. It has to take deliberate effort in different quarters, even in our different organizations. I know we talk about gender mainstreaming, and if I was to do a sample even in this room, at least every organization might say, yeah, we have a gender mainstreaming policy. Who actually doesn't want to have that in their documents? It attracts some good vibes, brings on board relevant people when you talk about gender mainstreaming. But do these talks just end at the boardroom? Do they just end at tea break, or do we still take them down there and ensure that the same is replicated even in our societies? So as an institution and as institutions, we really have to be deliberate. It has to start with us, and we need to move this down there. On a later note, I was just even looking at this panel who are here, men, right? Yeah, look at even the room, like most men have gone to the other room, they're talking about cost drivers. Majority of the people that are seated here are women. So does it mean that we just left the gender mainstreaming space to women? How are we going to deliberately ensure that we involve men and women in this? Yesterday I was joking with one of my colleagues when people were discussing strategy. Surprisingly, the panel was made up of only men, including the moderator. Can we also bring women on board when it comes to serious discussions and serious deliberations? And as a country, I know Kenya has a very good gender action plan. We really talk about gender mainstreaming. We have very good documents, but does it just end up at those documents? How do we ensure that what we talk about reaches down and it gets to the women who have been for so long been seen as the primary beneficiaries? So we have to be targeted in our approach. Let's also empower women. Let's have trainings. Let's ensure that we fully bring them to the table. It's time that they stop being known as the primary users and they really sit at the table and engage in serious discussions that affect us in clean cooking.
Thank you, Evelyn. Maybe just to make reference to a project that maybe you're handling or you've handled before, where maybe the decisions started from the local or they started from the high table, trickle down or bottom up, or from the grassroots to the high tables. Would you be having any success stories, like any comment?
I'd still go back to GCF. And as I said earlier on, GCF is so deliberate on gender mainstreaming. And we have clear targets that are set out. At least in every activity that we carry out, if it is in trainings, anything that we do, we have to ensure that 60% of the participants are women. And we deliberately try to ensure that. that can't happen if the staff in that project are not empowered. So it helped to also start with staff. Like consciously let the staff know. Sometimes we do things unconsciously. When it comes to gender mainstreaming, our staffs are aware of what they're supposed to do in that sector, so that as we go about the implementation, we also target the right people.
Thank you, Evelyn. So looking at aspects of health, looking at aspects of economics, looking at aspects of their social life. A good example is the Coke advert, whereby they try to bring a family together, they show you happiness. They're selling us happiness, that we are not sure that at the end of it all, it is happiness. But the fact that it is a family together, having a meal and a Coke, it sells the idea to us. You find yourself, you want to go and buy a Coke. So if you can be able to do the same with the stores that we have, the fuels that we have, we bring it in an aspect that we are looking at it from a family perspective, and not just a technology that we have borrowed somewhere else and you're bringing it for them to be able to access it. And then also looking at the plans that we have, the plans should be very inclusive. From the word go, we need to bring everyone on board. Look at the different needs that women have. What kind of needs do men have? Young people, what does access to fuels and the technologies that we are promoting mean to them? So that as we are designing the projects that we have, even if you're looking at the financing aspect of it, we are speaking to the needs of the people that we are working with. And then critical issues are being addressed, because you will want to understand who are you planning for, what are their needs, and also look at the different roles, because it is known that mostly it's women who cook, but shock on you, you will go to the households, you will find a man trying to cook a meal for their kids. Are we going now to just plan for the women because we know they are the ones who cook? No. Now it's time for us to go there, interact with the people that we want to design the projects for and sell the technologies to, and understand clearly who they are and the needs that they have, so that we don't just assume that if you go to a household, they want a jiko to cook. You will go there and the priority number one is not even the meal that you're talking about. They want the kid to go to school. So as they are doing that, how are you going to bring in the agenda of access to fuels that are cleaner? So just looking at some of the constructs around is really going to help us achieve the agenda and not just talk about the agenda alone. And then in terms of also just being cognizant about the different foods that they prepare, because you will have a technology, yes, but is it able to? So there is a lot that is happening in that household, and all these are different. So you will want to look at a technology that is proposing different things, that is going to address almost all those things, so that we avoid stacking, because it has been an issue whereby you have 10 stores. There is one for the visitors. If they come, you need to empty, and then there is another one for the grains, there's another one for the vegetables. So for us to avoid all these things, we need now to look at some of the communities that we want to address the problems for. What are some of the key elements? What forms the community? What are their needs? So that as we are designing the project, we are really addressing the issues that they have at that level.
Thank you, Prudence. That was comprehensive. We still go back to the issue of letting it be locally led. Other development partners, your project has been focusing on electric cooking. And this has happened in 4 counties, right, where we have the energy hubs. So modern energy appliances can make cooking easier. So how do you think we can leverage on this to encourage more men to cook, like the way I think you're trying to make work easier in the kitchen? So what do you think, how can we leverage to make this, to bring the other agenda on board?
Okay. Thank you, Philomena, for the question. there are several things we can do to bring men on board through the use of modern energy cooking services or electric equipment. For a start, I know, okay, I stand to be corrected, but I know most men are normally not patient. They're not willing to stay in the kitchen for long hours waiting for food to cook. But with more energy efficient electric appliances like an EPC, they take less cook time to cook foods that normally require longer boiling time. Like for example, a githeri normally takes 2 to 3 hours. With an EPC, you get your githeri done within 30 minutes at maximum. Foods like meat, men like meat with an EPC you get to use only 20 minutes. Apart from that, I also stand to be corrected. I know many men, the male child, they don't like doing dishes. They can cook, yeah, but the aspect of having to wash dishes after cooking is another whole story. So with modern efficient appliances, most of them are non-stick, to mean that the food doesn't get stuck at the bottom of the pot. So you can use one pot, if it's, in the case of an EPC, you can use one pot to cook your ugali and your vegetable. After you have cooked your ugali, you just transfer it to a plate without having to wash it and do your vegetable in the same pot. In the case of induction stoves, the pots used for induction stove are stainless, and they are also easier to clean compared to the normal aluminum pots. Another thing is the preset time function of energy efficient cooking appliances. It's normally said that men do not know how to multitask. They have to finish one chore they are doing before going to the next. I have an example of this. One day I was doing my rice and then I had to go to the shop. And then I told my husband, kindly after 10 minutes, nizimie gas after 10 minutes. Nikamkumbusha mara kama 20. Akasema, I got it, it's covered, you can just go. And I went, I took time, knowing that he will put off the gas after 10 minutes. On my way coming back, the smell of rice burning welcomed me in my home. And then I was like, oh, the rice is burning. And he didn't even realize the rice was burning. So he was, I'm so sorry. But with modern efficient appliances like EPC, the induction cooker, you can preset the cook time. So that after the timing has elapsed, the gadget you're using automatically goes off. Another thing is on the good thing about this energy efficient, and I'm talking about electric, you are not limited to the kitchen. When you're using biomass, most of the time you have to be in the kitchen, or even an LPG. The good thing about this EPC induction cooker, you can use them at the comfort of your sitting room. And when you cook as a woman in the sitting room, the men get curious and they want to know more about this thing. And with time, they find it easier to operate it. And in the process, they want to try and help out in the process of cooking. So I think those are some of the ways that can be used to leverage men to get into the cooking arena. Thank you.
Stages of charcoal production. Okay. So what can we do to create alternative livelihoods in the charcoal making value chain for both the men and the women?
Thank you, Philomena. I think looking at how to involve more men and create more value chains for both is really a tricky issue, because in different cultures and different places, there is a way that men and women are supposed to relate. And always I think the best way, or a way that this can be tackled, is looking at male influencers in the community, or those that have a leadership role and can always be looked at as influential, to be able to bring men on board to be able to work in this space, because I think different cultures need different approaches and different solutions.
Thank you for that. So how do you think we can engage? Thank you, Dorothy. I think I'll pose this same question to all the panelists. Dr. From Recipe, how do you think we can engage men? How do you think we can engage men as key household decision makers to ensure the adoption of these clean cooking solutions, solutions like the fuels and the technologies?
So I'll just kind of almost say what Dorothy has said, and then I'll add to it. So yes, it's really important for women in a household also to become good at communicating their messages. I think things are really changing now. It's slow in some areas, faster in others, but I do think that women are beginning to have a bit more say in decisions in the house. So yeah, if they become better communicators and they can really explain that using a certain type of fuel or a certain type of stove can really reduce the cost, I'm sure that the men would be convinced to do that also. And then the other thing would be what we've just said. I mean, this is a discussion on gender mainstreaming, and we hardly see the male gender here, and that's exactly where the problem is, because when we're doing some kind of like a focus group discussion on clean cooking or even an open space discussion, we get all the females in it, because that's interesting for them. But then again, when they go back, the decision is taken by the men. And sometimes the message that we gave the woman doesn't get transferred to the man the way it could have been transferred. And then the other thing is, so I think the main thing is to make sure that in these platforms men are present and men are involved. I think we can also start taking, we do in our work, we take advantage of the different gender roles. So we, for example, know that females have easier access to households. So when we're collecting data, we actually make a point of having more females in our teams, because they can go into these households and collect all this data for us. And youth is one more thing. Like, youth are so good at this social media and being influencers, and they can. I can put something on Facebook and maybe get 10 likes on it in 10 days probably, but you can see put some message and in 1 hour it's like 25,000 likes. So I think also it's important that we involve this youth group into it, and kind of start working on behavioral change a bit on men, getting more involved in the kitchen, in the cooking, being part of these platforms also. So I don't know, youth can come up with a way of making it a bit more sassier.
Thank you, Dr. Prudence.
Yeah, just happy that she talked about young people in energy. So yes, so it means there's more space for us just to be able also to be at the table to make important decisions, and not just to pass the message across in awareness creation. So on how best to engage men in the discussions in terms of access, I think the best thing is to look at the role of men that they play in the society, and starting at a household level. There's a good report that was done looking at who pays for energy. Because you'll find that most people who pay for energy are men, and they don't sit at home to enjoy the benefits of this energy. So even as we are designing these things, looking at women as the people who bear the brunt, but still we have a decision maker. There's someone who pays for that energy that needs to be brought on table and educated on the importance of access to technologies that are cleaner and fuels that are cleaner for cooking. So it's very important just to involve them from the very go, because they're very important in the mix, even as we execute the projects that we are doing, and also in terms of the purposive engagement of men. in terms of whereby you're having the focus group discussions, it's very important to have separate group discussions for men and women. Because if you go in the communities that we live in, because of how we have been cultured and brought up, you'll find that women cannot be able to speak in the same space where men are, and same as men. There are communities whereby men cannot sit down with women and discuss anything. So it's very important to appreciate the diversity in that and just have separate discussions for men and women so that you are able to get different views across the board and ensure that everyone has been heard.